Hi, I'm Matt Lehman, and tonight I'm going to be working on my Pong clone. So I've got a Pong game that I've been building with Love2D, and I'm going to continue on that. Let's see where we're at with it. It's been the better part of a week since I've really touched it. So let's check it out. I did add some particle effects and trails and a bunch of things here. It's getting a little better. Still has some issues, but yeah, it's reaching the point where I'm nearly happy with it. Added some glow and things like that. I'm trying to decide what the next feature is going to be. So I was adding like basically polish and whatever they call game juice, I guess, to make it more interesting. And now that I have some of that, there's some other refinement that I want to do because I'm trying to learn how to become a better game developer by doing this process by using Grok as my tool to help. So I'm thinking that essentially after getting most of these things done, there's a lot of like cleanup and like basic things that I want to do. I've also thought about if I wanted to make this a fuller game, what would this be? Like right now it's sort of a sci-fi theme. I can't actually, I was going to try and show off some of the music this evening, but I learned like right before the stream that Mac OS actually like doesn't allow desktop audio to come through without some special like audio software. So I'm gonna have to download that before I run the next time in the future. There are things about this game that are like the game is functional, as you can see. It's maybe not the most intriguing game at all, but of all time, but it certainly does work. And there are things that I want to add that will make it feel more like a real game, like a pause menu, for example, or an actual menu at the start with maybe some like increased difficulty or something along those lines. Don't have any of that coded in here, so it's basically you get in, you start the game, and it just sort of immediately begins playing, which is fine for what it is initially, but not very complete if I wanted to like share it and let people try it out and stuff. So, oh boy, well, so I think I kind of have the feel I want for it. Like I think it's pretty fun actually. Sit here and kind of play mindlessly. The computer is basic, the computer AI. So still would need to update that if I want to have difficulty like settings. Whoops. But those are other things to consider. Last time I tried on the stream to do this, and I tried to add particles and totally failed during the stream. Grok was really struggling with that, but you can see, look, if you paid close attention, you watch the paddle. Every time the ball hits one of the paddles, there is a spray of effects that pop out. So I've got the effects there. I've got some screen shake now that is fun. I've added, you might notice that the ball starts like glowing more and more. I wanted it to feel like more intense as it was getting faster. So those are the basic elements that I've added since the last time I streamed. So what do we need to do now? I want to bring up, I think the way I want to do this is last time I had a session with Grok, it was super long, but I think Grok was just, I don't know, the responses were taking a long time to get through. So I want to start a new conversation with Grok, and I basically paste in my code as it exists today to do that coding. So let's do that. Go to the main file, and we'll take everything that's here, because Grok has basically been building this game, and I've just been the sort of the game designer, if you will. So here is my sci-fi Pong clone, and then we'll just paste the code directly, and then I think we need to figure out what to do next. I think I want to have like a real menu system and actual scenes and stuff, transition, everything's just sort of overlaid on top right now. So I want to start figuring that out, because the the code, actually, let's, before we give Grok any sort of prompt, the code is I mean, it's still not gigantic. It's less than 500 lines, but it's all, I don't know. This is the whole thing. It just kind of goes on, and I think everything is sort of done in line for some of the things that are happening, and it's getting time. I think it's about time where it's getting unwieldy, and I'm gonna have to take care of this. For example, if I have a pause menu, how do I get that all to shift? Is that thinking about this in scenes or what? So let's see what Grok comes up with when I just give it this prompt. So what can we say? This, well, actually, did it play immediately, or did I have to start it? Yeah, it starts playing like right away. This game begins playing immediately when started. That was fine for building out the initial code, but it is jarring for a player. I want to build a menu system so that there is something before the start. How can please help me clean up the code structure? I think so. In some other tools like Godot, there's this concept of scene, and scene I think is maybe this tool that, so there's almost this aspect of scene management that hold on, I've got a tea over here that I'm trying to get the tea bag out. Sorry. There's this aspect of scene management, and I think that's how these games work with their life cycle. And all of my code right now just happens like basically in the main event loop, and that's the thing that I'm trying to like move away from, because it's all jumbled up together. So I think maybe step one to get to a menu system is to put the existing play code into its own scene. And I think by describing it in those terms for Grok, we might get something better. So let's say before building a menu, can we put the existing play code, I don't know what else to call it, into a scene? What do I mean by that? I want to contain all the logic for the gameplay, and keep a clean separation with whatever future menu we create. And you rearrange the structure to do that. Get all that? Oh, that's way down here. Okay. So we'll let it generate based on this, and see what it does. So we can introduce simple scene management. This will separate game logic from the future menu system, making the code base more modular and easier to extend. So I think what this will do, with any luck, is kind of wrap up excuse me, wrap up everything that happens currently. Like if you look at it, the way everything does happen currently is you have the love window, love load method, and then there's only 3 like love hooks that we're using. and that's love load, love update, and love draw. Or sorry, there's one more, I guess. Love key pressed. These are the different callbacks that Love will try and call if they exist as your game is running, so you can handle the different state. So if we are putting this stuff into a scene, what I'm hoping it will be is something like scene draw or something like that, where the scene is dynamically selected and there's some scene management code that like helps pick between menus or stuff. So there's got to be some kind of overarching management interface so that if I hit, say, P, it'll pause or something like that. And then it'll delegate to whichever scene is selected. So it'll pick the scene and split to that. I hope that's what I'm thinking how this will work. There's probably like, it's probably not so clean if you had a game, let's say that was almost like a heads-up display where your menu is something that overlays on the top. There'd have to be some other process, like if you had to keep drawing the background while your menu sits on top of what's visible, that'd be more complicated. So this is almost like we're going to switch what we're drawing, which might be jarring. And well, I don't actually know if this works, or I don't even know if this is actually the main method that is used in like industry stuff to do this. I'm just kind of exploring. All right, so let's see what it came up with. Creating a scene manager to track between. We're going to put the game logic in different scenes, so move all gameplay related code in the different hooks that I was talking about. Load, update, key pressed, and draw into its scene, so it has its own load, update, key pressed, and draw methods. And then it'll move the functionality in there. So here is the reorganized code. So we have a scene manager, which really is nothing more than a table of scenes. And we've got a function that will switch scenes. Now, this load code. Oh, maybe it's going to do something that will set. So if it's already been loaded once before, it's going to set some Boolean to true, is what it looks like. So that we don't ever load more than once. I think that's how that's going to work. Okay, so then they create a game scene table and are adding functions to it. So some of these, like this probably doesn't have any doesn't belong in the game scene. It's like for the actual what am I trying to say? It's for the overall game, sorry. So that should probably come out. But notice also that where's this self coming from? Self is that's a Lua thing. When you do this style where you use a colon, that means it's becomes a method. So this is implied. So anytime you see self, it's actually a reference to like the table that's being called from. This will become more apparent maybe later. So we'll be able to say like scene.ball essentially, although that should be a kind of a private implementation detail. So it puts all this stuff into these certain things just for the game scene. And I think what's important is going to have to make sure, does this actually run? Did it properly rearrange the code? Because what I may want to do is put all of this code into a separate module and have the main things at the bottom in their own main file. So these are the love callbacks now. And then it gets going. Okay, let's try it. So we'll paste this in, and we've got all that. Then we'll say love Pong, and seems to still be working, so it seemed like the right organization change. I can hear my headphones are over here, so the music's still working. I assume, I don't know, we'll keep playing it for a little bit, see that everything's going. Really is more entertaining with the music. Like, it's one of the things that one of the things I learned about doing this much game work is like it did become a lot more fun once you could like hear something, hear the right tune. So I've got this kind of sci-fi, it's called a chip tune or something like that. It's just sort of a classic old school video game sounding tune that goes on. It's like a 4 or 5 minute track, so it doesn't it will be unique as long as the game match between the player and the computer is fairly short. But if it gets, I've noticed that it's not quite good enough if there is like, if the CPU score and the player score are pretty even. It does actually get all the way to the end. So this is one of those things where I think what else would have changed? The first thing is like, would be to introduce this menu on top of this stuff, and then start to extract out like what are the common pieces. There's some, like, for example, the should I be extracting out the font? Like, the font I think is going to be kind of global for my game. So it doesn't belong in game scene, but it also doesn't belong in menu scene. It's like anything place that wants to use the font. So there's got to be some kind of configuration or something that needs to be passed into the scene that is whatsoever is considered unique. It's my thought anyway. So that'll come along with things. And then let's say we add a menu that increases the difficulty. Like, maybe we have just like an A, B, and C, or easy, normal, and hard mode. And then we set up our game differently, like has a different background with different music for each of the difficulties. Or maybe we make it configurable multiple ways, where it's like you can configure the AI difficulty, but you could also pick the court and pick your song. So like, perhaps you don't like the song that is on this court, but there's other songs you could choose from. So I think all of those things might be like interesting things to kind of play with, give some kind of configuration options to this, and like exploring that what's configuration, and it just gets interesting. So yeah, I think, let me see if I can win now. Now I'm close enough. There's definitely a bug also when I do win that I want to show that I think needs an adjustment that I probably should put into the code. The other aspect that I've been thinking about that's going to be difficult is if we switch all this stuff, there's comes a point where it's like it all exists in a single file right now. But if I wanted to share it with Grok in the future, and I've split it up into multiple files to make it easier to manage, how would I do that? Like, if I needed to reseed Grok, like, here's all the context. I think there's a tool from Simon Willison about, like, basically kind of a command line tool that will basically take all the files you want and put them into one big copy buffer. So if you do have a bunch of files, you can say, here you go, AI, work with this as you will. But you actually, here's the example. So you can clearly see like the press R to restart is like way off for some reason. Okay, so that's cool. That seemed to work. So let's keep that change for now. And let's see, move gameplay to a game scene. So now that we have that, well, let's see what it said. So it introduces, I want to see if there's anything to learn about this. This is the other thing I'm doing with Grok. I'm actually like learning along the way. We've got a scenes table, and it's going to keep track of the current scene. Okay. This is really interesting to me. Is like it's going to have to do this if check every time if current, and it's only going to. That seems pretty weird. There's probably some way that we can be smarter about. No, just load in the current scene, and then don't switch to game, so that we can avoid this constant check here. Like, I think it's just kind of silly that we would check if there. It's like doing look before you leap for every time you go through the code, and this code executes a ton. So all of these scenes, I think what we can do is assume that they have an update function, or an update method, and a key press method, and a draw method, and it like make that a requirement, so that if something gets called, it will always exist, even if it's doesn't need to do anything. Like there's, for some reason, there was some kind of attribute that we didn't want. So this doesn't feel right, but I think it might be temporary because they're saying for now. Okay. So we've got the variables all in there. We've loaded it. We've moved all the local methods in there. That's pretty cool. Why don't we go ahead and move it to its own file? See if that's going to bite us. I want to get this now before it gets more complicated. And see how that feels. Can we move the game scene to a different file? I would like to have some separation between scenes and sharing a single file doesn't provide much benefit. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. They're doing a require inside the load. I wonder why. All right. So this is our new main. Then I'm going to ask that question. So, all right. So we've got new main. Whoops. Looks like this. Much shorter. Which and it's got a little scene switcher utility. So this is like at this point you can kind of see everything that's going on. That's cool. And then we're gonna have game scene.lua, which will at this point paste in the other file. So you can notice, importantly, that it creates the game scene table, and then that's what it returns. That's an important aspect of modules with Lua. So if you want to have a module, it's got to return something, and a table is a pretty common thing to return. So now this should still work, I think. Okay, cool. Still seems to be going. Cool. So, all right. Stop that. There is going to be some annoyances when we like pull code out from one place and into another now. So I might be like slowing myself down by doing this. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is like a, I don't know. I'm doing this whole thing with Grok kind of leading the way. And so in some ways it's been advantageous to make it be a single file, but I wonder if actually it would go faster if I didn't do that. There's the questions I have around how much context can it keep? Like will it with this mode where it's dumping out the whole file each time, that keeps that whole game state kind of in Grok's context. So Grok, like the context of the discussion I've asked it many questions. And so it can't take all of that context and go back. I mean, it could, but there's probably some limit. So you can almost view it like if the discussion is this long, it's the bottom chunk that's the actual context that gets sent back. And this works right now because the entire game fits in that context chunk. So I'm thinking if I start splitting it out to multiple files, we might have like a bit of context that's like left up here, and so the window could move down and basically get out of that, such that like the Grok no longer knows what main looks like, or the main file. So that's a risk with what I'm doing, but I think that's maybe okay for now. We'll keep trying. The other thing is we're making certain assumptions that we're hoping still stay. Like if I ever wanted to move, for example, if I tried moving, let's just try it. Let's do make dir scenes and then move the game scene. Why is that not coming up? Oh. Shoot. Remove dir scenes. It's too high level. So we want to do make dir Pong. I forgot I put this down here because I had multiple demos. So we'll make a scenes directory in here, and then we'll move the Pong game scenes to Pong scenes. And now I suspect if we run this, it'll probably blow up. Yeah. So it started looking for this path of, hey, I can't find game scene. Well, okay, that's because it had the load. So if we updated the require, whoops. So if we go in here and update the require to be scenes.gamescene, that it should get past that part, but it's probably going to blow up at an asset path, is maybe my guess. Oh no, it didn't do that. So that's, oh, you know what it must be? Those paths must be relative to the root of main. Oh, that's cool. So wherever you are, just think of things in terms of the root of the main file. All right, cool. That was easier than I thought then. So, all right, let's tell it that. That gives us some, although with this small of a game, I don't think we would need that. But if I was making a big game and had a bunch of scenes that I had to care about, like in like tens or hundreds even, then that kind of organization I think would be pretty important. Although I don't know good boundaries for a scene, so I'm still, again, I'm all just like learning here. So, all right, okay, stop playing that. So let's do this. Let's move it back. So move Pong scenes game scene into Pong. And then let's remove the Pong scenes directory and then go back here, because this is that way I don't have to tell Grok, hey, I move this to a different place. Let's make sure it still works. It does. Great. So we've got this updated organization now. We've got a game scene file in a different place. There's some tricky, like this, everything we have so far in terms of graphics and position is all based on this fixed size. And I don't understand how we want to deal with that in the future. Like if we wanted to have, if we wanted to make this game full screen and people had different sized monitors, what would we do? That's not clear to me at all. So here's our stuff. Oh, right, I wanted to ask why it's in the load. I could understand that in the future we might want this to be dynamic and not load everything all at once, but I'm not so sure. Okay, they want us to go ahead and put in the menu scene. Let's do that. So menu scene, Lua, and then we'll copy this and paste it in here. It looks like they have, the strategy here was rather than try and have some shared configuration, just make a new instance of the font. Reasonable strategy, I guess. The downside is like if we had to update the font, then and we wanted to do it globally, then I'd have to change this and I'd have to change the game one. Okay, so there's a simple theme here. There's also some knowledge of what other scenes are available. That's interesting. There's a global, like, you don't know where this function came from. Now, thankfully, the language server does, so we can find it. So we have a global, this is a global function. And there's an informational message telling me this is a global function. So it's taking advantage of that in order to actually do the switch. But let's see how it looks once we get this actually in there. So here's our updated main. And you can see it updated around here. Okay, cool. So now let's try this and see if it gives us something. Press enter to start. It's way off to the side. And then, okay, now we've got a state. Well, that's cool. It transitioned. Yeah. All right. So now what? Now what do we do? I want to, well, let's commit this. So let's say reorganize and add a menu scene. And then let's ask Grok, why did you put the menu, why did you put the require into the love callback? I don't think it explained that. So they did say switch scene is global. You could pass switch scene to scenes or use a more complex module system. But the current approach is simple and effective. Okay. Menu. Okay. So let's say before continuing with the menu, why did you put the require statements into the love load callback? Why were they not loaded at the top of the file? Okay. Great question. Placed them in there because of how love initializes. Is that right? Love's modules are not guaranteed to be fully initialized when Lua executes code at the top level of the file. Okay. When main is first loaded by the interpreter. Love load callback is the first entry point where Love guarantees that its system's graphics audio are ready for use. I see. Since game scene uses Love2D functions like new image, new audio source, new font, and its load method requiring those, okay. So there's things that it calls in there that, which makes sense. Like we set the window attribute, we set some audio streams and new source. Those things that are referenced are things that are used during loading. So if graphics wasn't ready yet and like wasn't even a table that existed, you'd probably get some like nil call, or you could potentially get some nil call. That's surprising. Yeah, that's very surprising. Although I guess I still don't buy that because, like, look, yes, those things are in there, but they're all done inside the method. So you could conceivably, like, load these things, but none of them are going to be called until the load callback happens. So this doesn't resonate. Avoiding the global namespace, that's fine. That part seems reasonable. So I'm going to argue with like Grok and see what it says. Now this part I do agree with. Like if you do this, if you had a game that was too big and you tried to load the whole universe worth of content at once, then I could see how that could be a problem. So if it's moved to the top, yeah, that should be fine. Because it's not until you call switch scene. All right, well, it does at least acknowledge that that method could have worked. Oh, interesting. Register scenes? So you could say, you could separate, I don't know what you're getting there, I guess. Hold on. Now what, our first scene should be a menu now, right? Yeah, we're switched to the menu. So I think this is fine for a small game like this. We're gonna have like a menu, a game, and this is the, I guess that's not even accurate. It's like a start menu versus like a pause menu. Yeah. So there are different menus, but that's okay. There's lazy loading of scenes. that could cause like some, I could imagine that causing like game stutter. This is where you'd probably have to get something more complex, like a little loading screen. I mean, I'm thinking about like, you all know what loading screens look like, but the one that comes to mind is Enter the Gungeon's little loading screen. Which is like a little bullet jumping into a barrel. See if it, this thing. So just like this little bullet walks up, doot, 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 and then jumps in one of these barrel holes. I don't know, something about that is cute to me. It's a weird game. It's a super weird game where bullets are cute, and it's all about shooting stuff. I spent a lot of time on that game. Okay. We've got all this stuff. Let's think about what to do next. Or actually, no. Before we do that, help me think through screen size. Currently, the window size is set in the game scene, which is weird, by the way. And things are drawn with that size in mind. How would we adapt this to different screen sizes? For example, what if we want to run the game in full screen and lock in a certain aspect ratio? Okay, so it agrees that that's going to be a problem. The window size is set in this load global setup configuration file. Hard coding does make it difficult. Yes, it does. We have hard-coded coordinates throughout that assume certain heights. These won't scale correctly. And the background image scaling is also tied to our resolution, which is going to distort in weird ways. So we can assume a 4x3 we could leave unused space black bars. I think it might be interesting. Oh, you know what would be cool? Like if we could have the game be 4x3 and then with the extra space have some like sidebar images rather than black bars. So let's work towards that, and it'd be actually, I want to see it. Oh man, I want to have like now I'm just thinking about like Pong full screen on here and just see a ball bouncing past my head. That sounds fun. So it's gonna move. Is it actually doing this, or is it, okay? Maybe it's doing something here. So let's see what it did. Move window configuration out of the game scene to a global setup in main. That sounds right. I'm gonna lock the aspect ratio and scale all of our game elements, the paddles, the balls. That should scale up well. because we use basic shapes. We don't have image files really, except for the background, and so those are drawn, which means they should look pretty good, I think, unless there's weird artifacts. So we'll do. It's going to do set mode into the main, and using luaconf or luaload. Luaconf is like a special callback that gives you the configuration you can add directly rather than setting individual attributes. Define a virtual resolution. Ooh, interesting. Then scale the game to fit the actual screen. Okay. I'm down for that. I don't know what all that will entail. Scale, transform all game logic and drawing coordinates into a virtual resolution, then apply a scaling factor and offset when rendering to map to the screen coordinates. Okay. In full screen mode, compute the viewport size to maintain the 4:3 aspect ratio, centering the game and adding black bars. This sounds pretty cool. Sounds like what I would want. So they're doing the code for main and game scene to start. And this viewport concept, I think I've heard of before in like web development. Like you have a viewport if you're like mobile. So it's borrowing from other well understood places. And then we've got some local concept. Oh, okay, this is how we're doing the setting the scaling for the whole thing. Okay, cool. How often is it going to run update viewport? Oh man. Update viewport. And draw. Translate. Okay. We're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to study this because I don't actually know what's going on there. So let's take this code. We gotta make sure this works too, because sometimes it gets this stuff wrong. All right. So notice all of this like transformation stuff happens inside of this like stack concept that it does. Don't know why it needs to push and pop since it's all in one level anyway. I might ask it what's going on there. I don't understand that. I don't know that this will run. Oh, there's an F11 key. Ew, fun. Fun. So it'll allow us to play this in theory in full screen mode. And I might just want, like when you play a game, well, I don't know. When you buy a game these days, does it start in full screen or do you have to make it full screen? And probably come back down to a windowed size if you want. I'm not sure. So let's assume for the moment that all of that main code is functioning correctly. And then let's scan through here. Actually, I'm not going to scan. I'm going to look at the diff. Let's assume it got all that too. And we'll go to the game scene and change all this and replace it with this. So there should be just a diff here. I don't know what's going on there. Target. Target, okay. Don't know what it did. Let's keep going. It's hard to see with that diff. I'll probably look at the diff in a minute. It's got all that code. Okay. So here's what we changed. It moved the Windows stuff, the actual main, right? Which we've got here. No. Here. Default windowed size. Okay. Well, let's see if it works. First of all, let's try that. Nope. What do I call that? Attempted to index field paddle left fast. Well, thanks, Grok. You broke something. Paddle. No, it's not going to be there. Paddle left fast. It's particle left fast. It did this before to me before. Where it's gotten the name wrong. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe that was the only mistake. Oh, nope. We lost the background. At least things appear to be working like they were before. So we've got to come back to the background. Something's missing. And then I don't actually know how to hit my F11 key. Because it's like mapped to my audio. Where's the function key button? Shoot, I don't look at this keyboard enough. Oh, there it is. Whoa, that was not it. That just made all my stuff go away. Let's switch it to a different key because that wasn't right. So it's probably like Mac OS probably has a different purpose for what the F11 key is. All right, so we got some stuff to figure out. So the audio is still right. We got where did my asset go? Where did the background go? So what is it doing? Sounds, background, background music. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Where did it go? Because it's got to draw the background graphic. Here it is. Here's the background image. So it's supposed to draw that, but why did it not? We still have the background. So that loaded properly, but something happened. Okay. Current implementation works for different screen sizes and full screen, but some elements could be improved. So the font sizes are fixed, which may look too small. Okay, we gotta fix those. Particle system scaling. Oh my word, there's so much here. Okay. Well, shoot. Okay. So before fixing the other scaling issues, Oh, hey, John. Lower left key. Key press and hold down the lower left key for about... I don't know, John, I'm on a Microsoft Sculpt keyboard, so it's like translating between whatever this keyboard thinks. So I've got like a, on here, oh geez. There's a little toggle right there by my ring finger. And that's switching between the blue setting is like all of the overrides for those function keys, and then the white setting, which is supposed to be a switch, is, I would think, to function keys themselves. But once I did that and was in theory on those white settings with the function key F11, then it did something else. So like if I do it right now, I'm going to switch to that and hit F11. Yeah, everything's gone away. So yeah, not what I wanted. So I think I'm going to just switch the key to be like F or something, because there's no need to have anything be complex right now. So before fixing the other scaling issues, there are a couple of problems. My F11 key doesn't work properly on my Mac with my keyboard. Please switch to the F key. Also, the background is not appearing. Oh, there are actually a few problems. There are a few problems. One of them I corrected. Most importantly, you used paddle left fast instead of particle left fast, and that broke the game. Then, there we go. Then those other things. Where is my background image? Why is it not drawing? Okay. So it's going to fix that. It's nice that it does it in one file now, so we don't have to copy all the stuff. The background image isn't appearing, likely due to an issue in the rendering setup in main. Most probable cause is that the set background color in game scene draw being overridden, or the background image is being drawn incorrectly due to the viewport transformation. Okay. All right, I'm just going to let it figure stuff out and try some things. Okay, so we've got our main code. Let's try that. There's that. And then we'll do the game scene code. Whoops, did I already pass the start? No, that's main. Game scene. Copy all this stuff. And if it doesn't work, we'll switch it into thinking mode. I did notice, though, with thinking mode... Oh boy. Was it not done? What are you doing? Oh, there it goes. It wasn't done. Whoops. With the thinking mode, it seems like lose context of whatever I was doing. Like it switches it off to a different system. So I've had to kind of reinitialize it with here's what it is. So that's strange. But let's just assume for the moment that I got it right. Let's try it. All right, cool. Fix the image, whatever it did. Okay. The other thing The other thing to notice though is that it started with the game, like went right into the game rather than the menu. That's weird. Ooh, almost cool. So it tried and then it failed. Fun though. Oh man, I feel like a real streamer. I'm doing a game dev stream, or not a gaming stream. So I'm not trash talking some like 12-year-old somewhere. So doing some shooting game. Although the reality is that 12-year-old would be trash talking me and probably kicking my butt because they have so many hours to play. Okay, so I switched to full screen. It tried. It almost got it. I think all the viewport code seems to be working though. Like everything with this transform stuff, whatever they did, whatever Grok did, is doing its thing. I haven't noticed the particles look like they scaled. The font stuff definitely is fuzzier on full screen, but it could be just like a raster font and not a vector font. And so that could just be like normal. Like it's not going to look any better. Yeah. Oh my word. Go. Ah, shoot. All right. So coming back here, let's call that a success. Or mostly a success. Although I didn't see where it drew the text for some of those things. So what do we have here? It goes back and forth with like deleting the comments on this stuff, which is kind of infuriating. Sometimes it'd be nice to keep all of those things of like, what did you say you were doing? And then they go away. Whatever, you can't have everything. Oh, okay. It's doing a lot of multiplication. Is that going to be costly? Like, would this hurt frame rate if we're calling this scale stuff all the time? So there's a viewport scale or 1. If you're doing a times 1, I guess that could be fast. Okay, okay. Draw the background image. And then we've got our viewport code. Okay, looks decent. I said I was gonna like learn. I wanted to like learn this stuff, so probably should pause and figure out what it's doing. This is what I don't understand. Well, maybe we can ask it. Why did it need to do a push and pop if it's always going to be doing the translate and scale? Because I think that's what this stuff is for. Like push and pop is when you have like a layer and you want to do some kind of modification to the layer that's being drawn, and then you want to turn that off. So like when I did the screen shake, for example, there's probably another example in the game screen code. We do push. Yeah, you can see here when it's doing some shake stuff, it does a push because then it's going to translate everything by some kind of offset. And then after it's done translating by that offset, then it does a pop. But again, even that one's like all the way here. So let's ask why it did that. So why was a love graphics push and love graphics pop required in the main draw function, draw callback. It seems like the translate and scale happens with every draw. So is that needed? Let's break down why they're included. So push and pop manages the graphics state stack, which includes transformations, colors, blend modes, and other graphics. Here's why it's used for draw. Push saves the current graphic state before applying new transformations. Stores the previous state. This is important because, all right, Love2D's graphic state is global. Without push and pop, transformations would accumulate across frames or interfere with other drawing operations if Love2D's internal rendering or other systems draw something after love draw. Huh? What else would be drawing after the stuff we told it to draw? Okay. Push and pop ensure these transformations only affect the scene's drawing and the black bars for letterbox. Without them, the transformations could carry over to subsequent frames. Seem redundant. Yes, that's what I just said. What I thought I was saying. Transformations are reset each frame. No external drawing. Your Love Draw handles all rendering. There's no indication that other systems, Love2D's debug overlay. Oh, like if we have a, yeah, I guess if there's an exception or a expected call, whatever Lua calls it, maybe it could mess up that. Yes. Black bars. Love2D doesn't guarantee that the transformation matrix is reset each frame. Okay, it sounds like maybe you could do it without it, but there's some safety with it. Yeah, the first word they use is safety. Okay, fine. Defensive programming, yep. To ensure the transformations don't leak. Okay. So let's now tell it. Actually, let's go ahead and. Am I done looking at this? Hold on. So we have this viewport thing that's now passed in as the load. Okay, so that's got for scaling fonts and particles. All right. Oh, it already did it. So that's why the particles didn't look weird, is they already did the code change on that. So deleted all of our comments there. Nothing changed on those settings for the ball. Of the ball? I don't know. Yeah. It's all stuff for the ball. And then we have our font that is being scaled. Okay, cool. Then we have our particles that are also being scaled. And, oh, nice. So these, and, oh, I like this. This is good. So all of this stuff, calculating the load, is happening Oh, maybe that's why stuff broke. Because we calculated scale during the load, but when I hit F, it is doing, it's actually scaling up, but then maybe it's keeping some of these other, I don't know. Is that right? Maybe there's something wrong there. I don't know. There's something there that, because it's not going to call load again, right? Because it was already loaded. Or did nothing ever set load? Because recall, oh, never mind. Look, I was thinking that, where is it? Well, where did the loading go? So it's doing like a look before you leap thing, but all of these scenes are going to have a load method. So that's a silly check. So every time the switch scene happens, there is a load call, which seems really ripe for a memory leak. Like if you're reloading those assets, I guess you set the scale again, but that feels weird. Update viewport. Let's go to this definition, see what it's doing here. It's like scaling other stuff. Ah, phooey. Okay. I don't think this code's right, but I think we're not terribly far off. Because I think there is a bug with like the scale factor being only in the load. So here's an example. It took out these comments about, they were actually telling us like what were those sections of code doing. I don't know how we could tell Grok, hey, stop doing that. But then sometimes it'll add them back. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, let's commit it. So add scaling code, I guess. Okay, that makes sense. There is something off with the full screen feature. Let's just make sure. Yep. Oh, interesting. I don't. Anybody catch that little notification? It said like Love2D prioritizes performance. I'm not sure what that. Hopefully that's not affecting like stream quality. Shouldn't be. This game is really simple. Okay, let's put that back. Yep. So that's definitely a real problem. What should we say? The game does go to the full screen size. But the letterbox effect is wrong. Well, how do we, is it cut off or is it, so okay, there's our player over there, our CPU player. And I think it was that player cut off completely? No. But some portion of their background is chopped off. Or like the part behind them. You can see like there's a certain amount of pixels behind my paddle. And it's supposed to be symmetric with the other players. So it's like, it's not calculating that right. Jeez. Oh, shoot. Like it's this area back here is not right. So we gotta tell it that. That's the problem. There are two issues that are noticeable. So they are probably related. So let's say 1. I only see the black letterbox on the left side by the player's paddle. It is very wide. 2. A portion of the, what do we call it, playing field is not visible on the right side. It doesn't cut off the CPU player, but most of the space between the CPU player paddle and the right edge is lost. It is definitely smaller than the left side gutter behind the player paddle. Okay, see what it does. And assuming we can get this fixed, that might be where I wrap for the evening. I think the next things to do would be, like, I didn't really show like how I got some of the assets. I took them from various websites that were recommended. I'm pretty sure they are, like, I didn't have to buy them, but I don't know that they're available for commercial use. It's not that I have any intent of making a Pong game purchasable, but I do want to go through some of the motions of, where could I make this available? Would I put it up on itch.io? What does that look like? Can itch.io run Love2D games in browser? Is it only downloadable stuff? I don't know. So, yep. Symptoms suggest that the viewport calculation is probably wrong. Wide letterbox. You're probably seeing, which indicates that the viewport X offset is too large, pushing the game content too far to the right. This suggests that the pillar box, the black bars on the side. Oh, I didn't realize they're called pillar boxes. Oh, letterbox is when you go this way, right? Make it narrower because of, like, TVs. Yeah, this is TVs. Ha, forgot about this. The TVs used to be like 4x3, right, by default. And when you watched a movie, the movie was in 16:9, so it was the letter shaped. So the letter boxes were the things above and below. And I guess now we had the opposite problem, where here I'm trying to make a game that was classically in that 4x3 aspect ratio to give something wide enough to play with. And so we have pillar boxes. Cool. I didn't know that. Should be. Maybe miscalculate or scaling is off. Player field cuts off. The right side. Yes, the viewport is not wide enough to come. Blah, 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 blah. Probable causes. Current implementation is that. I'm just reading what it says. Is it going to try something new? So change the main. See if it worked. There it is. Hey. I don't know what it did differently. We can go look at the diff in a minute. Well, this is fun. And I'm definitely, next time, because it is a cool tune that goes with this, I'm definitely going to fix this next time so that I get some actual like desktop audio plugged in here. The other thing I was hoping to do this evening was like have some kind of background ambient music, but couldn't do that either because again I was trying to like just wanted to play from the desktop, do something low tech, and not mess with some like weird audio source configuration in Streamlabs. But no such luck. All right, let's see how. Let it go to the end. And no, I should let it go to the end this way rather than me trying to win. I'll just let the computer win each time and see how that final screen looks. It should still be off because the restart text should be off. The other thing I want to try is like, why did it switch back to this? Did it forget about the menu screen? So okay, a couple more. Let's go. All right, one more. There we go. All right, so you can see the press R to restart still off to the side. That needs to be fixed. Although there's could be an argument of like, hey, does this go back to a menu state? Because this looks kind of weird. Like the ball is like frozen here halfway. What's going on with that? All right. Oh, go back. Oh, that's cool. It totally works the way we want. It's looking cool. I like it. So let's see what changes it made fixed with this calculation. So it got rid of the comment. That's weird. Oh, it just totally like messed it up. Just completely got it wrong. Used height where we're supposed to use width. That's funny. Or what? Wait, what is it doing? It's got width in here. What was it doing before? It was doing the height times the aspect ratio, and then the inverse of that, the width divided by the aspect ratio to get the height. Okay. So maybe it was a reasonable scheme that supposedly worked in theory, but just didn't in practice. I don't know. It works now. So let's see what it says it did. Change this to be times the scale. This ensures the width is in screen coordinates, matching the scaled virtual resolution. Similarly, letterbox branch. We did okay. So if you did have something that was narrower than 4:3 and you actually did have a letterbox, they would do the height thing. So that is a really unlikely pathway, I guess. Center the viewport. Was that in there here too? No, this is all the diff. So I don't know what they're talking about. This is the only changes. Are they lying about stuff? Grok, come on, Grok. So the viewport calculation now uses the correct width, ensuring the game is centered with. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So it's telling us like because this calculation up here was wrong, when it was calculating what's the center of the viewport, it was getting that wrong, which is what explains why it was offset by an extra amount, and our pillar boxes looked wrong. Okay, and then in the future, maybe we'll get some kind of cool background instead of the pillar boxes. But I don't think I'll need to do that. Okay. Let's also then go back and look at the menu. So on the load, we should be able to do this first, right? Whoops. That's not right. Okay. Well, let's fix that, because that was previously working. Where'd it go? On clone, update viewport. Oh, they just took it out. Again, I guess maybe here's an example where we went too far and the menu scene got chopped from the context because we haven't done it recently enough. Boo. Okay. So first, let's commit this code. Say fix pillar box calculation. And then we can go back here and say, this is working. So I'll stop thinking about that. Thanks. Where did the menu scene go? You did not include it with the main Lua file. Right. This was a basic example. Okay. I'll provide the complete set of files, unchanged from the last working version. So we have to include, oh, the menu scene might need a modification now that the viewport was there. So it didn't have that. So we'll take this updated main file, paste it in. We've got the menu scene. Is that the only difference? No, removing some comments, but and switching back to the menu as the starting thing. Okay. And then we'll go to our menu scene and bring that back in. Yeah, because you can see ours doesn't have the viewport. Game scene remains unchanged, including it for completeness. Okay, we can skip that. We just copy that in. Oh, it's still drawing it. Ah. Or Grok is still working, I guess. So now we got the viewport. We have to do the scaling work. Oh, okay. And included a start and an exit. Oh, nice. That's new. Although it looks like we're going to have a problem with the continuity of the audio. Because when it might restart, and this will be hard to, I'll have to listen to this. Because when we've got the menu up, it sounds like that's going to be playing. Oh, they're doing a whole bunch of stuff here. Doing a draw. Yeah, they got a bunch of things going. All right, let's look at this. Let's try it out. Because it might, what might happen is if we have this and it plays the audio and then we go to the game screen or to the game scene, it might like restart that audio. So I'm gonna listen in on this and see what happens. Hopefully it works. So let's try Love. Okay, Pong clone. Text is a little off, but oh, nice. We got some yellow. I'm doing up and down on the menu, and that's got start game and exit. So if I hit down and I hit enter, it goes away. That's cool. And then if I hit this, I'm listening to it. It did the start. I'm wondering if it will continue when I hit start game. Oh, it did. So I don't know how it. Wait a minute. Might be going twice. It is. Let me. I think it's playing twice. So I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, it's definitely playing twice. So we need some kind of sound manager that knows how to coordinate between the scenes. But I don't know that I'm going to give it one more chance to try and correct that. And then if it doesn't get it in one shot, then I'm just going to call it. So let's say add menu scene with basic functionality. Okay, and then let's read what Grok tells us here, and then we'll do a little bit to see if we can fix the audio issue. It thinks it's stopping the music, and it's not. So there needs to be like almost on a game scene, there needs to be some kind of like unload, or I don't know what the right callback is going to be on the scene switch, but it's definitely not the right audio. Okay, here we go. Music management. Currently, both menu scene and game scene create their own background music. This works, but creates a brief overlap when switching scenes. Yeah, it's definitely wrong. I think the music management is more of a problem than stated. It appears that both tracks play once I switch to the game scene. I don't think that the menu music stops. Can we correct this? Okay. Why does it occur? There's two different instances. They both load. They both get their source. They don't know that one's running. When we switch, it starts the one, causing them to overlap. Yep. So we've got ensure only one plays at a time. We need to manage background music centrally. Guess that's true. Probably some kind of way to signal to which one to play. Or you gotta maybe pass in a sound manager or music manager to the actual scenes to like give them something to control it. Or Yeah, I don't know. Which is what they're saying. It's the preferred. Move the background music to main. Scenes can control this with play, pause, stop. When switching scenes, main can handle music transitions. The con is that the scene loses direct control over the music. This could be mitigated by passing the music. That was what I was saying. Like if you needed to change something, you could do that. Scene cleanup. That was what. So like we're gonna have to on the transition. It could have to stop. It'd have to stop the one and start the other. But it's a different method. Keeps music control within the scenes. More complex. Still risks overlap if cleanup is missed, but if cleanup is managed by main, it's not going to be missed. It's going to be called no matter what, right? Right. Well, let's let it go with the centralized music management approach, see what it does. We got background music is nil. How much does it have to generate? It's got the menu scene. All right, it's probably working on the game scene code right now. So let's put, whoops, I think I went too fast. Let's put the main in here. Oh, wrong file. So here's our background music is in load and it's just playing. Oh, I see. So that's just gonna happen no matter what? When does this get stopped? Oh, and then it gets passed into, so maybe it stops when the game's over? And then before a reset happens? Okay. Take the menu scene, copy that. Is there any tilde on that one? Takes it and uses it. If it's not playing, it will play it. Okay. It'll definitely play it because it's the first thing that happens. So that code is like pretty much guaranteed to run. Make sure it's got all the code so far. There's a lot of code at this point. Yep. Okay. Game scene is good. Game scene has background music. So it's no longer playing this, but it will ensure that it's playing if it needs to. Okay, so that's a little weird, but we'll reset the ball. But at some spot, well, it used to stop it, I thought. Okay. Well, let's see how it works. But you can't see how it works. I will hear if it's working. So it did start right away. We should be able to go here. Okay. It transitioned properly. Just let it keep playing. Let's switch to full screen. See if that shouldn't have any effect. Music kept playing the whole time. Oh, it's starting to feel kind of polished in some ways. Again, this is something that you can't really tell if you're not playing, but it's starting to be a little tight little game here. This is probably where I'm going to call it for the evening. We need a way to pause the game. So that'll be something to do in the future. Let's see, fix music duplication bug. Cool. So we got, so last week was probably the session that would have been like more visually appealing. It was working on particle effects and playing with that sort of stuff, and screen shake and the tail on the ball. And I already had those present, so we weren't dealing with that. But menus are a pretty vital, important part of games to get started and give players control. Have a way to quit with keyboard shortcuts or keyboard controls, and it would translate to like game pads and stuff too. It would be interesting to have a gamepad, but I don't have one, so I don't know that I'll be able to do that on stream. But I probably still need to learn of like how do you translate from having a keyboard sequence. So there's probably, just like we had a viewport for mapping the scale of this screen size to something bigger and having it transform and scale up if necessary. There's probably some kind of concept that would be similar of like what are the buttons that we actually want to have in as the names of up and down. I mean, those ones are, well, even those, because that'll be the up key or the down key, but it could also be direction pad up or direction pad down kind of thing. So there's a mapping from the concept that we need in the code of what controls are there versus what are the actual input mechanisms, which is like keyboard or a gamepad or a mouse for different kinds of games. So that is something that I'll have to explore if there are virtual controls for it, or what Love2D kind of suggests is the way to go. So let's push up the code. If you want to check it out, the code is available on my account. I'm doing all this stuff in this Love2D demo thing that I just made. So literally, here's all the code. It's all available. Go for it. Go to town. So that'll do it for me this evening. Thanks for joining in. Hopefully you learned something. I certainly did. And I'll see you next time. Take care.